Good day, chess fans. So today I'm going to discuss about one of my favorite openings when facing e4, and that is the super solid opening known as the French defense. So in this video, I'm going to examine a very important line in the French defense, and that is against the advanced variation. So I'm going to walk you through the lines of how black in the French defense could counter the advanced variation of the white player. So we start with e4, e6, d4, d5, and here e5 is the advanced variation. And the advanced variation is a very strong line against the French defense because it gains a space advantage for white. So if black is not careful, he or she may face a very grim defense against white's space advantage. So I'm going to give you a very sound line when facing the advanced variation. So in the French defense, black has to negate the white space advantage by the pawn breaks c5 and f6. As black, if you do not attack the pawn base at c5 or f6, then you will have a passive position. So you have to make this pawn breaks, and c5 here is a very important defense in the advanced variation. So white reinforces with c3. Again, you attack the pawn base on d4 with knight to c6. White plays knight to f3. And here, my recommended line is queen to b6, putting additional pressure of the queen on d4, and at the same time it attacks the b pawn so that the queen's bishop of white cannot move early in the game. Now after queen to b6, there are three major lines that white can use. The most common is a3, and the other two variations are bishop to d3 and bishop to e2. Now in this video, I'm going to discuss the bishop to e2 line in the advanced variation. So white plays bishop to e2, and now a very strong move of black is knight to h6. Now the purpose of knight to h6 is that the black knight could go to knight to f5 and exert additional pressure on white's d-pawn. So remember, in the French defense, you have to attack white's pawn base. Now, after knight to h6, black plays bishop to h times h6, And the purpose of this is to inflict damage on the black pawns so that the black's king side becomes damaged. However, by trading the queen bishop for the knight, white also has given up his or her bishop pair. Okay, so my recommended line after bishop takes h6 is g takes h6. Now, is it possible to take, instead of g takes h6, why doesn't black play queen takes b2? Now we're going to examine this first. If black takes b2, it seems inferior because of the following variation. So the bishop retreats to e3, queen takes rook, queen to c2. Now notice that the black queen is already confined at a1 and is in danger of being trapped. C takes d4. The correct move here is knight takes d4, bishop to d7. Now, instead of defending the e-pawn, because the knight on c6 is threatening to take on e5, white correctly castles, so that if the knight takes e5, knight takes d2, and the queen is already trapped, so the queen has no choice but to take on f1, bishop takes f1, and black loses his queen. And in this position, white could play queen to b3 next with the idea of knight to b5. So let's go back. So instead of queen takes b2, the correct move is g takes h6. And you will see that even though the kingside pawns have become damaged, it's still not easy for white to attack black because of the closed nature of the position. So despite the kingside weakness, black is still very solid in this position. So after g takes h6, queen to d2. So black plans to castle, bishop to g7, castles, castles. Now, white's only good developing move is knight to a3. So in here, we take, c takes d4, c takes d4, bishop to d7. So white plays knight to c2. White plans b4 to attack on the queen side, or he could also play knight to e3 and perhaps a later g4 to attack on the king side. So you have to attack white's pawns. So the typical break in the French defense is f6 to open up the f file for the rooks. Pawn takes, rook takes f6. Now notice that the F file for black has opened, and he plans on doubling rooks on the F file. So white needs to counter as soon as possible, or black will get a strong initiative on the king side. So white plays b4. And here the standard move is rook in A to f8. So notice that even though black has a weakened king side, he has a very active rooks on the F file and could start a possible kingside attack. So b5, knight retreats to e7. So white now occupies a strong square on e5. We play bishop to e8, and we plan to place our bishop on g6 to make it active. So here, bishop to d3. We challenge the knight by placing our knight on g6. Bishop takes. H takes g6. So white plays a4 to defend the b pawn. And here, I recommend g5 to clear the way for a possible bishop to g6 in the future. So white plays rook a to e1. Black plays a6. Pawn takes. And queen takes. Okay. Now we're going to stop our analysis in this position. But just to examine the final position, you will note that white has a very strong knight on e5, but black's pieces are very active. He has an open f file for a possible attack, and his rooks are very active. And very soon, the two bishops will dominate in the endgame. So black has very good chances and good play in this position. So we're going to end our analysis here. You could further study this position, but this is just to give you a very good idea on how to counter the advanced variation in the French defense. So in our future videos, I will also be taking up the other alternative moves of white in the advanced variation. So thank you very much for watching our video. Please like and subscribe this channel, and have a good day.